space here. And it's pretty amazing. Been watching her grow and do the things that she does so well. She's like the most amazing problem solver. If you have any like the craziest things, and she's like, oh, did you think about that? No, that's perfect. Her talk today is To the Mountain Via Molehills, working towards giant goals in small steps. Kat strongly believes that the skills and joys found in outdoor adventure spill over into everyday life, and that the outdoors are truly for everyone to enjoy. She pairs her passion for personal growth gained by exploring the outdoors with her professional background, including experience as a leader and a coach. When introducing others to hiking basics, she makes a point of sharing ethical and sustainable practices that respect nature and all others who enjoy the outdoors. Her primary mission is to introduce others to trail-based adventures by building a foundation of basic outdoor skills and knowledge, leaving each individual with a sense of self-confidence and empowerment to be carried both on and off the trail. Everyone can become the outdoor adventure kind. Warm round of applause, please, for Kat Eckrode. Can I say testing?
Testing, testing. Maybe a little closer. Can you guys hear me in the back? Yes. All right. Never gotten to talk on one of these headsets before. I'm so excited. So, my name is Kat. I am the outdoor adventure kind. I am the chief outdoor adventurer of my company, and I am a total badass. Yes. It took me a long time to own that. It took me a lot of learning to figure out how to achieve some of the goals I had set for myself. So I want to start with sharing a little flashback with you all. It will be easy because the weather is very cooperative today for my story. Think about the weather. In Daria's case, as you were out walking this morning, for all of us, as we were arriving, that gray, drizzly, maybe flat out pouring, depending on what time you got here moment. This past September, I was walking in very similar weather for days on end. I was carrying a very heavy pack. My hiking boots were so soaked that every time I took a step, picture a kitchen sponge, and not a clean one, a dirty one that you've been using for a while. Every time I took a step down, it was like squeezing that sponge, and every time I lifted my foot, all that dirty water rushed right back in. It was the most amazing experience. It was so good. It took me almost 5 years to get to that point. And I heard, oh, this is a great thing. I learned more in the 5 years it took me to get to that point than I did in 15 years of corporate training about how to reach a goal. So what I'd like to share with you today is some of my insights that will very much complement whatever your goal achievement system is. I'm not looking to replace your goal system. I know there are a lot of them. There are some acronyms probably springing to mind for some of you. These are supplemental steps that are going to help you get to your mountain via those little molehills along the way. Does that sound like something you're interested in?
Yes.
Yes? Okay, good. I appreciate the audience participation. So, the trail that I was on, let me tell you a little bit about it. It's called the Wonderland Trail. If you are familiar with the Pacific Northwest, Mount Rainier in Washington State is the very scenic view you see as you're driving up to Seattle, from Seattle. The Wonderland Trail goes all the way around it. It's 93 miles and involves about 22,000 feet, give or take a few, of elevation change. When I decided I wanted to hike the Wonderland Trail, I had never even gone backpacking before. Something about it, you know, you find that goal, you find that thing you want to do, and you get so excited. I'm going to do the thing. And it's great. That excitement is key. There are some other elements that need to come along with that to keep your excitement up. I'd never been backpacking, and I couldn't climb a flight of stairs, so depending on which flight that is, that's 10 to 20 feet of elevation gain without losing my breath. But I'm going to do this trail that involves 22,000 feet of elevation gain. No problem, right? The first thing that I advise is to give yourself the honor of knowing where you're at when you begin. I hear some giggles. I know.
How do you find that out?
Let me tell you how I found that out. Well, at the time, I announced to just a couple people, I'm going to do this thing, and they all went, you're gonna do what? Because you haven't done these other things. And shouldn't you maybe do that first? Well, yeah, of course I'm going to do that first. Of course, I was not going to just run off into the woods by myself right off the bat. I didn't. But what I did do is I found myself something that seemed like the right step for me at the time. I wanted to go backpacking, so I found a campsite where I'd had to walk to my campsite, couldn't just park in front of it. Just a quarter of a mile. Piece of cake in comparison. That quarter mile took me a long time with all of my gear. All of my gear didn't fit in my backpack because I didn't know what I was doing, so I had to make 2 trips. And I took my dog with me. I learned that day he hates backpacking. So give yourself the grace to go, I'm not there yet. This is realistically where I am, and this is where I need to start, and that's okay. I don't have to be halfway there when I begin, or more. Grace is a huge component as well. You have to be willing to give yourself the grace to learn along the way. You don't know how to achieve the goal yet. That's why it's a goal. One of the first things that I did was, okay, I need to start getting all this elevation gain. I'm going to hit the biggest, toughest hills and mountains I can find within driving distance and go for all these hikes, which was great. And I did. And eventually it happened where I picked a hill that was a little too much, a little too soon. I found myself hiking in the dark down one of the steepest hikes in the Columbia River Gorge. If anybody's familiar, it's Mount Defiance coming down Starvation Ridge. Don't those sound like fun places? Starvation Ridge involves a lot of really loose and treacherous terrain, especially if you're rushing because it's getting dark, because it took you longer than you thought it would. I also was still learning about the essentials I should be carrying with me at all times, and that at this point did not yet include a headlamp. So I was coming down a treacherous, steep trail in the dark with my iPhone as a flashlight. iPhone flashlights are very convenient for a lot of things. That is not one of them. So give yourself some grace. I got back to my car, and I was so excited, A, because I was back at my car, but B, because I learned so much in the last 2 hours of that day-long hike that has carried me forward in the years since. Give yourself grace, take the moment to reflect on what could be viewed as failure, and take that learning opportunity. Keep moving forward. The next piece is to celebrate every single little victory along your way. And I know a lot of us here in our goal setting acronyms, the celebration comes at the end. It's when you hit your goal. But if you wait until the end, you're going to be depriving yourself of so much opportunity to acknowledge all the good you're doing along the way. You're going to miss out on so much opportunity to share those good moments with those that you love, those who want to see you succeed, and to keep your energy and enthusiasm up. It's so easy, right, to get discouraged because that goal is still so far away and you still have so much to do. Remember to celebrate as you're going along. One of my biggest moments of celebration was getting to the top of Mount St. Helens as part of my training to do something even bigger. It was an amazing experience. I realized how far I'd come because I got to literally stand on a pinnacle and look at the world before me and go, I got here and I can see where I'm gonna go next. And that's an incredible feeling. Sometimes that feeling is in the middle of a deep, dark wood and I'm standing in the rain, but I've gotten to my destination and I can go, okay, I made it here. That means that I can make it there next. Celebrate, whether you're on a mountaintop, at your desk, somewhere in between the two. All those little steps, they're so important. Keep the motivation up, right? Sometimes the opposite of celebration feels like what's coming into play for us. Everybody relate to that moment of, I have failed so much at this. I've lost all my energy. I don't know where I'm going to get to next. Forgiveness is a key component to achieving your goals. You have to be willing to forgive yourself when you run into obstacles that may have been outside of your control. I did not get the permit to hike the Wonderland Trail 3 times in a row, which meant I was left trying to walk up on hopes and prayers that I would be able to get the permit that I wanted. The first year that I tried to do this, because it happened to me 3 years in a row that I didn't go, I broke my foot doing something I love doing. I went for a run. It was a really epic run. Those who might be familiar with Hood to Coast. It's a lot of physical work. It's a lot of training, a lot of building up, and then a 36-hour or so period in which you don't sleep, you don't eat enough probably. You're pushing yourself constantly, and your energy is up to here. And I fractured my foot in 2 places. So during the vacation I had scheduled to go try to get this permit that I had been training at this point for years to go do, I spent on my couch with my foot up and iced or heated, depending on which point of the process I was in. I also watched the Eagle Creek fire happen. And so some of my favorite trails were on fire. All of this is outside of my control. And it would have been so easy to sit on the couch and be so upset. But I really learned how important it was to forgive myself for having made the choice to do the thing that was hard, that left me injured and unable to do the thing that I'd also been training for. And I actually discovered a lot of forgiveness for the circumstances that were outside of my control, which just made me feel so much better. I could spend a lot more time talking about forgiveness in the Eagle Creek fire, but that's another topic. Nothing I ever learned in the corporate world told me to forgive myself for what I'd been doing. Very little of it reminded me to celebrate all of those victories that come into play as you're getting towards your goal. There's nothing that I recall learning about give yourself grace. It's okay to be learning. You're not supposed to know how to do this yet. Probably the most important thing that I did learn in all of those other structures, but I really want to reinforce with a little bit of a little caveat. Schedule your goals. Put them on your calendar. I don't care if your calendar is 5 years out. Put it on your calendar. I'm going to do this. And this is when I'm going to do it. But don't forget to honor where you're beginning. To give yourself grace to adjust as you're approaching that deadline. It's your deadline. You can change it. And if you can't change it because it's a commitment to someone else, you can change the steps you're taking to get there to still hold that commitment in place. Celebrate the closer you get to that goal. And forgive yourself when you do need to make changes that you maybe didn't want to make, or someone else has something impacting their life that requires you to make those changes too. I feel like I've been talking really fast. You guys keeping up with me?
Yeah.
Okay.
Great.
So, what I would invite you all to do, I've left a little piece of paper on each of your chairs. What I'd invite you to do is, if you have found this insightful, helpful to you in some way, I'd love to give you a PDF copy. It's just a quick rundown of these additional supplemental pieces for your own goal achievement system. You can hand those back to me, you can leave them at the front desk, and I'll collect them at the end of today. I would love to connect further with you guys. Anyone who has talked to me before about hiking knows that I could go for way more than 15 minutes about this stuff. So I would love to connect with you further about getting outdoors, achieving your goals, sharing more of my insights, and helping you find more of your own. That's what I have for you today.